Nightingale. Long ago in China, there lived a noble emperor. His porcelain palace and his extensive royal gardens were considered to be the most beautiful in the world. Every day travelers from far and wide came to see them. Beyond the royal gardens there was a deep forest. In this forest lived a nightingale who sang so beautifully that when travelers heard her sing, they were captivated by its melody. One evening, the emperor was reading a traveler's account of his visit to the empire when he read about the nightingale. Surprised, he called his prime minister. "Is there a nightingale in my empire?" the emperor asked. "I have never heard of such a bird, your majesty," said the prime minister, puzzled. "Find a bird and bring it to my court this evening," commanded the emperor. The poor prime minister asked every courtier and soldier about the nightingale, but no one had heard of her. At last a kitchen maid said, "The nightingale lives in the forest near the palace garden. I have heard her sing many times." "Take me to the nightingale at once, and your job in the kitchen will be permanent," said the prime minister. So the maid took the prime minister and a few other ministers to the forest. In the forest, suddenly the maid pointed to a little grey bird that was singing perched on a bough. The maid said, "There she is singing. Her song sounds like the tinkling of tiny glass bells," said the prime minister. When the nightingale had stopped singing, the prime minister said, "Little nightingale, I have come here to invite you to the emperor's court this evening." "I will surely come," said the nightingale politely. Meanwhile, the palace was being decorated with glittering lights and colorful flowers. In the evening, the nightingale flew into the palace. The whole court had assembled to listen to her song. The nightingale sat in a golden perch in the middle of a huge hall and sang. Her song was so sweet that tears filled the emperor's eyes, and the courtiers were enchanted too. Delighted, the emperor gave the nightingale his gold slipper to wear around her neck. But she refused politely, saying, "I have seen tears in your eyes. That is enough for me." The emperor was so pleased with the nightingale that he requested her to stay in the palace. So the nightingale began living in the palace, in a golden cage with 12 attendants to take care of her. Time passed. One day, the emperor received a present from the emperor of Japan. It was an artificial nightingale, studded with diamonds, rubies, and sapphires. "This is so beautiful," said the emperor joyfully. To his surprise, the artificial bird sang just like the real nightingale. "It must sing along with the real nightingale," decided the emperor. But this did not go well. The real nightingale sang in her own way, while the artificial bird sang only waltzes. So the artificial bird sang alone, repeatedly and tirelessly. It sings much better than the real Nightingale, declared the courtiers. Meanwhile, in the palace, no one noticed that the real Nightingale had flown out of the window back to the forest. When her flight was discovered, the emperor became furious and banished her from his empire. Soon, the real Nightingale was forgotten by all. Every day the emperor and his courtiers listened to the artificial bird's waltzes. One evening, the emperor was in his room, listening to the songs of the artificial bird. Suddenly, something inside it went whizz, and the music stopped. Troubled, the emperor called a clockmaker. He examined the bird and repaired it. "Your Majesty, the bird's barrels are worn, and if they are replaced, the melodious music will be lost," the clockmaker warned the emperor. 5 years passed after this incident. Suddenly, one day, the emperor fell gravely ill. As he lay cold and pale in his bed, everyone thought that the emperor would die. A window remained open by his bedside, and moonlight shone upon him. The artificial bird was kept near his bed. One night, the emperor felt a strange weight on his chest. When he opened his eyes, he saw Death sitting on his chest. Death had a pale face. It wore the emperor's golden crown, held his sword of state and his banner in its hands. All around the bed hovered many faces, some ugly and some pleasing. These faces started at the emperor and asked several questions, which disturbed the emperor. "Someone, please, play some music. I don't want to hear that," pleaded the emperor. But there was silence all around, and Death stared at him with its cold, hollow eyes. Suddenly, sweet music filled the room. Outside on the bough of a tree sat the real Nightingale singing. Hearing of the emperor's illness, she had come to see him. As she sang, the strange faces disappeared. The emperor's weak limbs became strengthened, enchanted by her song. Death too floated out of the open window as white mist. "Thank you, little bird," said the emperor smilingly. "I had banished you from my kingdom, yet you come and drove out Death, saving my life. How can I reward you?" "The tears in your eyes when I first sang to you were my reward," said the Nightingale. "Sleep well and grow strong again." The next morning, bright sunlight streamed into the emperor's room, waking him up. He saw the Nightingale still sitting on the bough. "Please stay with me," pleaded the emperor. "I can't live in the palace, but I will sing to you every evening, but no one should know about it," said the Nightingale, and flew away. Soon servants entered the emperor's room, only to see him healthy and smiling. The end. If you like our audiobooks, you may subscribe to the channel and comment and like the video. Thanks for listening.